listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast by Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb, Dr. Frederick J. Long, Dr. Mario Melendez, Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and J. M. Smith. Welcome and enjoy.
Hey, welcome back to What's in the Name. This is, of course, Proof Text, and I'm Dr. Mario. The name that we have for us today is the name Habakkuk. Habakkuk is a love of mine. If anybody knows me, they would know that my career in doctorate work, as well as in a lot of my publishing, has been hung upon this beautiful book of Habakkuk. And with Glossa House, I published my dissertation on covenant evocations in the book of Habakkuk. I would encourage you to get a copy. I would love that. Habakkuk's name is very poignant to his time period, poignant to his message, and poignant to those of us that are Christians in the New Testament. So let's do this. Etymology, implication, and application. Let's go through this. Habakkuk. Habakkuk is his name in Hebrew. The root of it is havach in Hebrew. Havach, which havach means to embrace or to hug, maybe, though that's more like hagiai. But habach is to hug, to embrace. And you can say sort of like to comfort, but not nahum, okay? Think of it like a loved one embracing and protecting, something along those lines. There's a lot of connotations within Habakkuk's name. And so as you delve into the etymology of Habakkuk's name and the debates that are therein as to exactly which root or how we should translate that, it applies to the name of, to the book of Habakkuk because of that beautiful section in chapter 2. Let's set Habakkuk into his historical situation, right? We have Habakkuk who probably saw the Josiah revival and the downfall after Josiah's revival of the next terrible king, right? And so Habakkuk and Jeremiah and numerous other prophets of old were contemporaries of one another, probably served at the temple during the reign of Josiah. And now they see the oncoming onslaught of the Babylonians, as well as the bad rulership of the Judean kings and royals. And so Habakkuk in chapter 1 poses the question, why is it that the law is not kept? Why is it that injustice goes unpunished? Why is this that? He has all this litany of questions for Yahweh, and Yahweh replies back, don't worry, I'm sending the Babylonians to take care of them. Let's throw this into somewhat of a historical thing that we might know from our European civ knowledge. Here you go. Check this out. Let's imagine that you were in Berlin during the during the terror of the Nazis. And then you prayed out to Yahweh and you said, Yahweh, come save us from these Nazis. And then you get a message from God. Don't worry, I'll come save you. I'm sending the commies from Russia. Those of us that know Cold War history would know that's not very comforting. Stalin and his troops end up killing millions of their own people and millions of people they occupy throughout the Cold War period. There's still debate in regards to how many people died, but know this, it's not a good thing, right? Yay, you get liberated by them? Oh no. Habakkuk's in the same situation. God, liberate us from these terrible Judeans. Sure, Babylonians, how's that sound? No, that doesn't sound good, says Habakkuk in chapter 2. That's worse. So God then replies in 2:4, don't worry, the just shall live by faith. And I think in its actual historical situation, Yahweh meant live through the prophet Habakkuk. You're going to live. And so we see many of our heroes from Judah live, though they get exiled by the Babylonians. Say, for instance, Rakshak and Benny. That's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, those of you that don't know VeggieTales. And we are fairly certain Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Daniel. We have Hadassah and her uncle Mordecai and many other people. They go off into exile, and then the Lord brings them back. Ezra, Nehemiah got exiled, etc. The list goes on. Zerubbabel. And so literally they do live. God protects some of the righteous as they go into exile. How does that fit with the prophet's name Habakkuk? Well, here you go. Again, that etymology of embrace. Habakkuk's not satisfied with the idea that God's going to use a worse army to punish the unjust Judeans, and God says, don't worry, I'll embrace you. I'll hold you. I'll protect you, might be a good way to etymologically bring that over to his message. And so we see Habakkuk's name knowing, oh, here it comes. And God says, don't worry, come here. I'll embrace you. I'll hold you tight as this happens. And you will live. Quite literally, that's what he was intending by that. And I love how the New Testament then carries it over into salvific means. So let's do that. In the New Testament, we see Habakkuk that he gets quoted in Romans, in Galatians, in Hebrews, as being the just shall live by faith. And what we see there is live is not necessarily just the on earth, but live eternally. I'm thinking John 3:16, right? Shall not perish, but have everlasting life. So the message of Habakkuk comes over to the New Testament more theological than the Old Testament's literal with the invasion of Babylon. In the New Testament, the theological Habakkuk or Habach is that, hey, know this, I will embrace you. And so we will be embraced for eternity in the loving arms of our Messiah, Jesus. I like this. In the New Testament, we don't really see another army brought up in order to rid of the vile ones, but we do see this confidence that the Lord will embrace us, and he will hold us. And there's so many great hymns of the faith that we could insert. He will hold me fast comes to my mind. He will embrace me in his arms. I will rise and I will run to Jesus. Habakkuk's message is a very short one for me, in knowing that he will embrace us as he brings about his justice. Sometimes we don't like God's way of bringing about or correcting a wrong, but he embraces us through that. So maybe you're dealing with an actual historical problem. Maybe you're one of our beloved believers throughout the world that's suffering at the hands of tyranny. Find God's embrace. Maybe you're at a point in your life where you're losing loved ones. Find God's embrace. And whenever we lose a loved one, just know that God will embrace us. He will help us through this time. Just as a loving parent holds us and says, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. This is the name Habakkuk, and I want you to read back through the book of Habakkuk and see how God is embracing Habakkuk and the righteous people and saying, I got you. I got you. And he says that to us for eternity. We are in the Lord's hands. Quite literally, Havach. We are embraced. We are held tight. Don't overlook his name as you read his book. This is the name for today. It's a short one, but I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.